Hi, how y'all doing? Hey, my name's Erica, or Coach E now, I guess. This is finally taking off. Um, so I've never done a video like this before, but I found that I have way too much time on my hands these days and thought I might give it a shot, take it for a ride, and see how it goes. So you guys are in for a really interesting treat. So for those that don't know, I am a big sports fan. I grew up playing every single sport you could possibly imagine, except for tennis. And I have my degree in sports journalism, so obviously big sports fan. Mainly football and mainly the offensive line. So recently, I've been getting asked a lot, almost on a weekly basis. Erica, why are you so obsessed with the offensive line? Erica, why do you like the O line? Why? Well, I got tired of typing it out all the time and telling the story because it's a long story. So I took the time to make a note in my phone telling the exact story of why I'm an offensive line fanatic, and that way I can just copy paste it, whatever. I ended up taking screenshots of it. Like I said, it's like 3 pages long. It's a long story. But I took screenshots of it and tweeted it out. That way I could just say, hey, here you go. Here's why. Quit asking. I didn't really think that anybody would take the time to read it, let alone that it would get any sort of attention, like people sharing it or commenting or whatever. But it's kind of popular right now. So I thought I would jump on here and make a video about the different stages and levels of why I'm a big offensive line fan, why I advocate for them so hard, why I cheer for them and yell at them, and let you guys know a little bit of tea about Coach E and where that comes from and why I am so passionate about the offensive line. So here it is. Okay, so let's start at the very beginning. A very good place to start. When you read, you begin with A, B, C. Okay, just kidding. I won't go into the do, re, mi. But anyways, I guess it all started my junior and senior years of high school. I was an athletic trainer for football, women's basketball, and soccer. Now, before I go any further, let's just clarify. I was not a water girl. I was an athletic trainer. I had to go to a camp at a university both years and learn how to, treat injuries and tape ankles and do all of that. So it was a legit thing. I was an athletic trainer. I wasn't just a glorified water girl. But anyways, during football practice those years, I always went with the position groups of the offense and defensive linemen. On our team, they were the same guys. They played both sides of the ball. But always stuck with them because they were the only ones that were always taller than me. I'm 5'10", which I'm not a giant, but it's pretty tall for a girl. So always stuck with the bigger guys that made me feel normal size. And during practice, I paid attention. I didn't just stand around holding water and sweat rags and twirling my hair. I learned the technique. And, in high school, that's when you learn the technique. That's when you learn the Z-bend and the duck walk and the punching and the this and the that and you learn all of that. So that's where I learned the technique, the skills, what an offensive line is supposed to do and how it operates. And I learned the plays. I picked up on what they were calling and who was going where and what and whatever else. So there was one day in particular during my junior year that we were scrimmaging after practice, or I guess at the end of practice, whatever. And I had a couple coaches in front of me and the rest of the guys behind me. And our offensive line coach, Coach Key, he was also our offensive coordinator. He was standing right there. And then our defensive coordinator, Coach Hurt, was standing right there too, right there in front of me. And they called for a play that required a personnel change at left tackle. Now, the guy wasn't paying attention, so they called the play a couple times. And I was like, Patterson, go. And he's like, oh, so runs in. And Coach Hurt turns around and he goes, did I just hear that right? I was like, Coach, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to I didn't mean to interrupt. I didn't mean to be bossy. I was just trying to help. He was like, Coach Key, did you hear that? He was like, yeah, I did. He said, how'd you know that? I said, I've been paying attention, duh. I don't just stand around. He was like, wow, okay. Coach Key's like, yep, she's a good one. And Coach Hurt right then and there gave me the nickname Coach E. E's obviously for Erica, duh. But yeah, so that was how I got my nickname Coach E, and it just kind of stuck. People just kept calling me E, and that's how I got my nickname that I now go by. People call me E, which I love. That's like my favorite thing. But no one really calls me Coach E. That's fine. It's whatever. But anyways, so by the end of my senior year, a couple weeks before I was supposed to graduate, I was still going to spring practices and all the camps with like the shorts and no pads type of scrimmages and whatever. And our head coach, Coach Gilbreth, actually asked me to, he's like, hey, you should come back on Fridays and help us out. I said, well, thanks, but no thanks. Like, I appreciate it and I love you guys, but I'm going to college. So that's how I really got into the offensive line and like learning from beginning to end, you know, the fundamentals and the basics of the offensive line. I also learned that their gloves are really smelly. And every day after practice, when they were running gassers or whatever, I was in charge of holding their gloves. It was disgusting. But no matter, that's just how I got to know about the offensive line. Okay, so I took my knowledge from high school football up to Stillwater to Oklahoma State, where I went to college. Now, I knew the offensive line from Oklahoma State from watching them, especially during my senior year of high school. That was 2011 was that season, and that was the year that Oklahoma State got snubbed out of the national championship game. Still bitter, but that's okay. We finished 3rd overall, won the Fiesta Bowl. Go Pokes. I had really been watching them, especially left tackle Levy Adcock. I was really good friends with his mom, Miss Cindy Story. And so in knowing her, I cheered for Levy and really watched him play. And that whole O-line, super great. Kudos, thumbs up. But my senior season, or I guess my freshman season at Oklahoma State was 2012. And I was part of the group of students called Paddle People. Now, we made up the front row of Boone Pickett Stadium in the student section for every home game. And we had our paddles and we cheered super loud. And I was one of the crazy ones that painted up. And I typically made a poster for featuring a lineman each game and went all out. But I ended up getting to know a lot of those linemen. I tweeted at them, which drove them crazy. They were so annoyed with me. But got to know them. I even remember there was one specific day I was playing basketball at the rec center, just shooting some hoops, and in walks, Evan, Parker, B-Webb, our quarterback, Wes Lunt. Then you had Mike Wilson, Zach Beach, Hunter, all these guys. And they asked me to play in their pickup game with them. I was like, okay, yeah, sure. Now that I'm friends with some of those guys, it's like, I don't know what was so exciting about it, but whatever. So I really, really delved into the offensive line there for the 4 years that I was there. And, when I came into it, we had Coach Wick, who is a legend. Love Joe Wickline. He is tough, but he's a good coach. His players will tell you otherwise, but that's okay. Then we had Bob Connolly for a year. He didn't last very long. He hasn't lasted long at any of his jobs, but see. So after my junior year, in the spring of my junior year, we brought on Greg Adkins, whom reached out to me. Whom? Don't know. Anyways, he reached out to me over Twitter. He saw that I was a big offensive line fan and asked why, so I told him why, and he ended up sending me huddle highlight reels of these guys that were playing that he was visiting or wanting to recruit or whatever. Like, hey, what do you think of this guy? Or, hey, how about this guy? Hey, I found this guy. Now, I don't really know if he even cared about my opinion or if he was testing my knowledge or whatever. But it was really cool that he was reaching out and like taking the time to send me highlight reels and ask, you know, what do you think about this guy? What do you think about that guy? So I helped. I didn't really help him. He did his own thing, but did all that. I ended up dating one of the offensive linemen for 2.5 years. So literally like hashtag oh I'm love. But yeah, I got really close with those guys. It was always me surrounded by 4 or 5 of them. We would always go to Whataburger and everyone would react at how huge they were, and it made me feel very normal size, which was nice. So really delved into the offensive line at Oklahoma State while I was there for 4 years and got to know those guys, and yeah, continued the O-line love in college.